to the Sotto La Curva Serie A podcast.
What is up, guys? We are back today breaking down a wild Matchday 24. Inter is looking absolutely unstoppable right now, but the real drama was everywhere else within the Serie A, especially that 2-2 heartbreaker between Juve and Lazio. Today, we'll be diving into all the big results, the frantic race for the top four, and our winners and losers from the January transfer window. So let's get into it. Lazio Juve 2-2. What are your thoughts, Ray, on the match?
Um, it was a game of basically two. I wouldn't say two halves exactly, but I mean Lazio got their second at the beginning of the second and their first at the end of the first. So they had a solid 2-3 minutes of play, but they were decent in the first half. But Juve seemed like they were still the team that got destroyed by Atalanta during the week in Coppa Italia. In that first half, but they bounced back pretty well. McKennie, you guys, last week I told you
I
McKennie,
know. I was
he
Yeah,
thinking about
is
it.
he's their talisman now. He's so important to their play because David's not that guy to win the ball in the air, and so McKennie comes in as that midfielder di inserimento, like I said, like a Simone Perotta type. When Simone Perotta would come in, let's say while Totti was playing striker, you need that guy that makes those runs into the box. Weston McKennie is that guy, and he bagged another header goal. And at the death, Kalulu from Jeremy Boga too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame for Lazio because they looked like they were better. They looked like they were in control, but they crumbled. And we saw a couple of teams this week crumble at the end. Um, they got a bit unlucky too because Hila and Prosgard both got injured. Both their
Yeah,
center
the loss.
backs got
Yeah.
injured. Yeah. Romagnoli comes in, gets a yellow, doesn't with everything that happened, Romagnoli.
Yeah, he clearly doesn't want to be there anymore. You can
Yeah.
see it in his body language that he's just very disappointed to still be there.
Yeah, and Patrick is he's not I don't find Patrick a great
No.
center back. Again, I'm going to repeat it for Juve. Even though he got an assist this week, Andrea Cambiaso looked so bad.
Well, on the goal, that was where was he? I mean,
Yeah, he had a chance to intercept that pass, but he
played it
he
wrong.
let it run through. Yeah, I don't know. He looks really bad, and he's their biggest weak link right now. As the team's starting to click and whatever, they're up and down. I mean, it's normal after such a long period. Let's say with uncertainty.
Growing pains.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, midweek in Coppa Italia, I don't want to touch too much on it, but they really got like
Outclassed.
owned. Yeah, outclassed by Atalanta. You know,
they were super wasteful this weekend. I mean, in front of goal, they were super wasteful. Tons of shots, a good amount on target, a bunch of chances created. But the mistake that Cambiaso made on defense is the same mistake that they were making on offense. Just lacking that, bit of decisiveness. It was almost as if Cambiaso didn't know if he should step up, lean back, play the ball, play the man. In the end, he did nothing, and they do the same in front. I mean, they generate the chances. It's that rifinimento, that kind of last touch or two that if it's not at Yıldız's feet or at McKennie's feet, the chance is going to go wasted often, And to touch on what you're saying about McKennie, I feel like it's just so he's having this success through knowing the game, right? None of his finishes are difficult necessarily, but he's in the right spot at the right time. He just found him. He just went to the hole and the ball showed up. You know what I mean?
it's
Very
a skill
smart
in and of
play.
itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, availability is an ability.
Look
You
at
know what
people
I
in
mean?
Zaghi. Look at people in
Yeah.
Zaghi. You need to be at the right place at the right time. You need to anticipate where the play is going to go. It's a very valuable skill.
Yeah, and he's definitely got it.
Do you feel like it's like maybe similarities to that Roma Milan game where like Juve, like Lazio played well, but Juve dominated on chances and chances created, and maybe could have had more. Do you
hmm
think that it has a similar like game to it? Like, did Juve steal it right from Lazio? They did obviously score at the end, but was it merited? Was it?
I
Did
mean,
they even have a victory?
you guys know the way I feel. I mean, I think defending is important, and sitting on a lead, hitting on a counterattack, it's as worthy as dominating play and scoring goals to me personally. So I think Lazio, especially considering the season that they're having, they tried to play smart. They just didn't have the legs, the calmness, the composure
Or the players
to
left on the
keep hold
pitch?
of it. Yeah, exactly. They had three injuries this game. Even Toma Basic got injured. And he held out for the last like 20 minutes of that first half and then came out at halftime. Luckily, because or else they wouldn't have had enough spots for changes. But I think, to me, I still think Juve stole that tie in the end because
That's
Lazio's
not their
leading. They're
fault.
sitting on their
Yeah,
lead. Even if Juve is dominating, it's fine. But if you're sitting on your lead, you're doing your best. You have a goalie in Providel who's good, who knows how to stop the ball. Like you could count on him when you need him. So I still think that Juve stole that point personally. Um, and props to Juve because they didn't give up. And even though it looked at a certain point like it wasn't, nothing was really clicking concretely. In the end, two crosses, two-headed goals, and they were back in the game in a big way.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Even though the numbers show that Juve dominated, there is a sort of feeling of snatching a point back, right? I mean, more often than not, over 90 minutes, you'll get what you deserve. And so
Mhm.
it's tough to say that they didn't deserve the draw, but definitely lucky to get it right at the end the way they did. Uh,
I was
yeah,
when Cope Miner scored that disallowed goal. In my head, I'm like, we just called them out on it.
yeah,
Maybe they
or
do listen to us.
yeah. We said it last week or 2 weeks ago, and we'll say it again. A lot of Serie A players listen in, so when we call them out, they respond.
How about the penalty controversy? Did you guys feel
I
that what
think
should have been a penalty? A lot of like people came out and said it should have. A lot of experts as well. So
I
is that a
think I
penalty?
yeah, I think it's a fair shout. I mean, ball's long gone. Does he go look for the contact? Maybe, but look, in this year's Serie A, if that would have been given, would we have been surprised? Right?
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's definitely a fair shout. And then look, from week to week, what is a penalty? What isn't a penalty? I never thought that would be such an esoteric question, but this year it really seems like it is. Yeah.
So Juve getting a draw with Lazio. Again, it's still a big point for Lazio the way they're playing. And we'll talk about them after maybe in the Mercato uh, report card that we'll do, but it's a fair point for them. I think they're gonna just be a mediocre team all season, and basically that's it. Maybe they'll
Mhm.
steal a point or two from the big guns, but that's about it. I don't see Lazio having any spark for the remaining half of the season. I could bite my lip. Everything I say the week before comes true the next week or whatnot. So
Apparently.
uh, yeah, we'll see. So maybe I should start betting on my calls, my non-calls basically. Um, let's move on. Let's move on to Inter. Let's touch on them quickly. Just a few things that maybe I wanted to touch upon as well because they did win midweek as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about two key, not just players, but I want to talk about Kivu as well. And you tell me if I'm wrong, and you guys could maybe argue the same point. But at the beginning of the season, everyone was very disappointed with not disappointed with Kivu, but he was like second or third fiddle on our radar. We were going after other
Mhm.
coaches, and not many Inter fans were happy. A lot of people were saying this is a bad choice. We're throwing him in the wolves' den with a big pack of wolves after everything. But he has been absolutely, I think, amazing. He's been the MVP and the reason why I think we're going on this run right now. What he's done differently than all the coaches before him, and what I love that I'm seeing, he's giving youth players some chances. We saw that in with Kamape and during the midweek game, where he's also rotating like a master class of rotation. Granted, we have better rotating players, I think, this year than we did in past years. So it does help when the players coming off the bench could actually do something and kick a ball or make even a pass or even hit the target. Thinking of Arnautovic, that of all the chances he missed, but in the end, he's giving everyone a chance. And again, we spoke last week a lot about being a team and being united. And Inter right now on this run look like a team united, and that's all thanks to Kivu. Akanji getting his first goal, everyone running up to Akanji, giving him a hug. When Diouf got his first goal, everyone running up to him and giving him a hug. They look like a team. They're having fun playing, and I don't think anybody can stop them right now. Granted, there was a red card in the Sassuolo game, but they still look like they had full control even before that red card. But
Yeah,
I
I
have to
think
say it's all down to Kivu.
yeah, it was
It
already
came
four
pretty late,
nothing.
the
I
red card.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it was
came
already.
pretty late.
Yeah, it was already. But just to say, like the score 5-0, you know what I mean? You see it, you see
Yeah.
red card, but all that to say. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I don't think Kivu was the first choice for Inter, but the strength, and it's not to take anything away from him. Like you said, he's doing a great job rotating, keeping players fresh. I think the star of the show for Inter, above and beyond the manager and above and beyond, DiMarco, who's having a career year, and Lautaro, who's steady, um, has to be the system that they've put in place, not only this year, but over the past 3, 4, 5 years, where their style of play, their movements have remained consistent. From Simone Inzaghi to from Conte to Inzaghi, and now to Kivu. It's a very similar style of play. It's a very similar system. They've been able to make changes on the fly and not miss a beat because they've kept the core of what they do very similar throughout, you know?
Yeah,
And
and
so a lot of
that's credit
credit
to
goes to
Marotta.
him. Exactly. That's where I was getting at. Yeah, the MVP. I think we can talk about Kivu, we can talk about Dimarco, we can talk about Lautaro, we can talk about them going out and finding players, or growing a player like Esposito, and getting the most out of Lautaro. Dimarco, also a player that they grew from the youth system. That's all, a benefit to the team. I think the real secret weapon of this Inter right now is the vision that Marotta has and the steady hand that he's used to guide this team from year to year, manager to manager, starting player to starting player. And it's consistency across the board. They really are, and it's starting to sound repetitive, but they're a well-oiled machine, right? You bring in a guy like Sucic, you throw him in, doesn't miss a beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Akanji, bring him in, throw him in. Seems like he's played with that back line for years and years. It's just so, you know, um, it just hums. It just hums
Yeah,
along.
it's seamless, right? It's even that transition from Conte to Inzaghi was seamless at the time. It
Yeah,
seemed as though they made that change without skipping a beat. And they did the same thing now with Kivu. Kivu, it seemed like he was their plan C, plan D in the summer. And honestly, I was one of the first people to say, like, it's going to be tough at the beginning. Like a young coach, he doesn't have much experience. I think he was only with Padma for 6 months the year before.
Yeah, I think he
yeah,
has like I
Um,
forgot how many, like maybe 10 Serie A matches or
yeah, and,
less.
and you know what? That
Under
that
before
Padma
that,
team, that Padma team last year at the end of the year, they were fun to watch.
they
They
were
looked
exciting,
good. Yeah,
scoring
they
goals.
they had it exactly. They had a fun team. So I mean, it seemed like that, like a De Rossi to Roma type hire. Like you bring in a legend, he's gonna do about a year guarding the team, making sure that the next person that comes in has a solid base around. But it seems like Kivu's the real deal, and like you said, his rotation's very good. He's better than Inzaghi at that, in all honesty.
Well, better and Conte. let's
Yeah, well,
you know,
Conte.
like
Conte doesn't
Conte's up
exist. He
there.
doesn't believe in
Yeah.
rotation.
But that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So we have two back-to-back coaches that don't believe in rotation, and now again, I have to the success that or DiMarco is an amazing player. He was an amazing player before Kivo, but
Yeah,
what's
he's been.
setting him like why he's on a pedestal right now is because he's getting the breaks. He's getting the breaks
Mhm.
that he needs, whereas Inzaghi drove him to the ground before him, and he was tired. Last year, it was like DiMarco was a shade of himself, a shadow of himself. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, he looked exhausted. He used to come off the field. You used to see him on TV. He's like huffing and puffing, right? So again, comes down to rotation. I don't want to speak too
Yeah.
much, and we'll probably speak about Inter.
Same thing with
Burgos.
with Lautaro though. Like
Yeah,
Lautaro and Thuram now, you have two. We said it in the past. You have two strikers on the bench that come in and they get the job done even off the bench, even when they start. And they're both young and they're both hungry and they're both big technical players. I hate the fact that they're this good. And like I've said it last week too. I said it the week before. It's so annoying that they're this good.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's to go back to to talk about the rotation. I feel like he's doing it in a very different way to how Inzaghi used to do it, or I mean, Conte didn't. But Inzaghi famously, with Dimarco specifically, um, he would start every game and he would come out in the 60th almost every game. Dimarco
exactly.
Mhm.
almost never finished a game last year. In this year he's got games where he hasn't played. He hasn't played in the Copa. He's been rested, but when he does play, he plays the entire game. So it's a sort like a different method for managing his minutes, right? Less starts, but more overall minutes. And I feel like a guy like Dimarco, fresh and even more dangerously late in the game. I mean, this guy is just a motor, you know. Even though the game gets on and opponents are tired and his teammates are tired, this guy's just always running. Um, I feel like, yeah, one of Kivu's biggest strengths has definitely been man management, keeping everybody
Yeah,
fresh, healthy. So, yeah,
and giving them that
props
spark
to
too.
him.
They want to play for him. But let's move on. Let's move on to Roma. I'm going to give you the chance, Joe, to speak about the Malin brace, the Malin show, 2-0 over a young flying Calgary that's been doing well as well. So, what are your thoughts on Roma today?
I think they look great. I said it last week. It could have been a trap game. Coyote's not a pushover. I think Gasperini prepared the team very well, to go out and take a stranglehold of the game early. Malin looked amazing. I mean, great purchase by Masara at a fair price. Uh, we were saying before we hit record, and I don't want it to sound blasphemous, but that first goal was shades of Totti, right? Just a beautiful run in.
He was in the
Mancini,
stands too. Thought he was in
yeah,
the stands to watch
and
that.
and you called it, Rem. Totti seems like he's making a comeback now, like he's going to be part of the hierarchy of the club, probably as a
Smart move.
technical
It's a
director, I think. Yeah.
yeah. He needs to
So
be the face. It's a smart move.
yeah. So and the first person they panned to after Malin's goal was Totti in the crowd. Appreciating the goal. Just a sublime touch after a perfect run. And shout out to Mancini, who's a player that I love, and he's the kind of guy that if you're a Roma fan, you love him, and if not, you hate him because he can be a butcher, he could be antipatico, he can be furbo, but I mean, what a ball. What a beautiful vertical ball from a center back who's not traditionally a ball playing center back. Um, Great pass, great finish. Roma just looked, like a real professional
They
job of,
look
of prepping and getting it done.
I was gonna say
Hmm.
they looked more like a Gasperini team today, the way they were playing.
Yeah.
And you tell me if I'm wrong, but the way they moved the ball, the way they were pressing, the way they were attacking, they attacked with power and pace on both sides. With Wesley, even Celik had a fantastic game. By the way, I was
Wow.
watching him
Yeah.
Yeah.
closely because I just
Really
picked him
good.
up in Fanta,
Both
but
of
I
those.
was
Yeah.
like, I found the wing backs were fantastic, center
Both of the
backs
wing
solid.
backs. Yeah, and we gave a lot of praise, and we do give a lot of praise, and we should give a lot of praise to Palestra, who's having a great year. But Wesley ate him alive.
He was
Like,
just
Yeah, I was gonna say
all
that.
game, he just skinned him.
I think the first time that Palestra looked good was it was like the 88th minute when,
Yeah.
or like the 80th minute when
he
he
made a little
got
run. Yeah.
past Palestra and he got past Zaragoza, and then Zaragoza he got a yellow to take him down. That was the only thing he did.
Yeah.
The
And
rest of
that's,
the game, it
yeah.
was Wesley blocked. And I said it last week. Wesley Palestra was the matchup to watch. It was Wesley. Wesley did very well. Gasperini really like prepared this match perfectly, I think.
And that's the advantage that having someone like Malin up top gives Roma compared to, the poor performances we were getting from Dovbyk and Ferguson, is there's a real actual focal point up top, and that stretches the opponent vertically and forces them inwards on the pitch, right? One or two center backs are going to have to, track those runs. You have to be wary of Sule as a shadow striker, of Pellegrini or Dybala centrally, and that opens up the wings for guys like Celik and Wesley to run at players with pace and with intent. And so right now everything seems to be clicking with the way the team is set up.
And it makes it interesting, interesting
Right.
fourth place race right now, right? So Roma and Juve, Como
They tied
both,
now.
yeah, they're tied on points. So that's going to be
It's
an interesting battle.
every week. I said it last week too. Every week it's like one team does well and the other two don't do well, or two teams do well and one team doesn't do well. It's such an up and down race for those two last Champions League spots. And this week, Roma, after having a rough week last week, this week they come back and they win 2-0, like very deservedly, and they were very convincing. And Juve stumbles against Lazio, gets away with a point at the last minute, or else it would have been 0 points, and Roma is there passing them. Napoli, struggling,
Yeah, we can
getting
move
up
on to
by the
that. Let's
skin of
move
their
on.
teeth.
Yeah, let's move on to that. Let's move on to Napoli and them getting. Again, they didn't play that well at all. They yes, you see 3-2, but it was
Skin of their teeth.
That
lucky
was
goal in the rain.
yeah. So
But
that, I mean,
go ahead, Joe.
they didn't. The first Buongiorno needs to be. I mean, that's
Something's wrong with
just,
him, man.
yeah. I don't know what's going on. He was one of the most reliable center backs in Serie A last year, and two goals. Geno's two goals go down to basically Buongiorno. I mean,
Yeah.
he looked horrible. Bad mistakes at critical moments. Almost costing his
Juan
team.
Jesus too.
Yeah, well, Juan Jesus doing Juan Jesus things. Anybody who's followed him is not surprised by anything that they're seeing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and lucky is not the word. I mean, Vergara at that penalty, jeez,
It's a penalty.
It is a
man.
penalty. You feel like
I
I
will,
feel like it's
yeah,
soft.
but I will argue this: it's a foul anywhere else on the field. We all agree with that.
Correct. I
Yeah,
would
That
it's just
say that's a
happens.
blasphemous penalty, though.
It's not
I
blasphemous.
don't.
It's weak.
No,
100% it's weak. But the way the game is now, it's a foul anywhere else on the field. It's a foul in the box.
I feel
Now,
like his comments after makes
yeah, but he milked
it
it.
seem worse. Well, it's
The
not
poor
even that
guy.
he milked it; it's that he came out and said that he milked it. Right? It's one thing to
No,
milk
it's
it, and it's another thing to come out and say, "Oh yeah, as
that
soon as I
is
felt him
the
touch me, it's
quote
like, oh, what joy!" I mean,
quote of the century. Que joya when I felt the touch. Like,
yeah, like,
but you know what?
and
That's
my issue with that
calciatori ignoranti.
penalty.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my issue with that penalty isn't so much that you give, because, like you said, anywhere else on the field, it can be called a foul. It's not blasphemous to see it be called. It's just in that moment. I mean, he's running away from the net. He's back to the goal. The XG in that moment was a zero. It was
But that
nada.
doesn't
It
matter.
was
But that doesn't
non-existent,
matter.
right?
yeah,
That
I'm
doesn't
not.
yeah,
matter.
I'm not saying
doesn't.
it does. I'm saying it should, and those are two very different arguments. You know what I mean? And
No,
then
because the foul in the box by the rules is whether he's facing away from the net, whether he taps it to the side and the guy comes in late and the ball's already out and the guy cracks him, it's still a penalty. Whether it's goal scoring opportunity or not, the goal scoring opportunity would be
Okay,
a yellow or a red card. But for
there's
me,
some
that's a mistake by the general defender that's coming in, not realizing that it's the last minutes of the game, and you're coming in hot with your foot like that against a player who has good footwork. You got to be careful. You got to be firm. You can't make the first move, and you got caught.
Yeah, coming in hot. He was coming in maybe lukewarm. I don't know if I would say
Okay.
hot. Maybe he was gently approaching. I don't know if I would say hot. I mean,
But
there wasn't much in it.
in real time, it seemed more obvious. Obviously, when
Yeah.
you look at the slowdown replay and you're like, okay, he made contact on the top of his foot, and he went down and he acted like he got shot. Okay, fine. It's
So,
annoying that players milk it, but it's if
part
he
of the game.
doesn't milk it, if he stays on his feet, even if he
you're
gets
gonna have
stepped on his
fans
foot.
complaining that he should have hit the deck.
No,
Definitely.
but how many times has it happened that a player gets stepped on or he gets tripped and he stays on his feet and he makes a run? Ref doesn't call it because he stayed on his feet, and then he
Yeah,
loses the
yeah, for
ball right
sure.
after. And
Yeah, and
you
it's
have to go down.
I guess
He's
my
looking
argument
for it.
isn't so much, yeah, but just because you're looking for it, if you find it, you find it, whether you're looking or not.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Agreed,
So
agreed. Yeah.
I guess my argument isn't that it shouldn't have been called. It's that we shouldn't. This is going to sound ridiculous. My argument isn't that it shouldn't have been called. My argument is that we shouldn't be calling these. You know what I mean? As it is now, it makes sense to call that, but we should change what it is now. And De Rossi came out and said something similar. And even
Yes.
Conte said something similar a couple of weeks ago. He's going to sing a
Yeah.
different song this week, that's for sure. But even Conte came out and said it a couple of weeks ago. The fouls that are being called as penalties are getting softer and softer. And we checked last week, Mike with some quick producer work went and got the stats for us, and there haven't been more penalties this year than there have been in the past. But I feel like it seems that way because there are more controversial ones, maybe. I'm not saying you can't call it. I'm saying football should be somewhere else where those aren't okay to be called. You know what I mean?
And listen,
Okay, Mike, you've been trying to just say something,
yeah,
but
I
then
just wanted to
I
say
had something after.
it's almost going to sound completely irrelevant, but I forgot the game, but I think it was Juve Atalanta, okay, and it was like a big game a few years ago, and I forgot who. I think it was Juve that got a penalty in the last second because the ball,
Shocking.
I think it was Asamoah. I don't remember who it was. Anyways, they kicked the ball going the opposite direction of the goaler, and it hit the hand. I think it was Muriel. I don't remember who put their hand up, but it was going completely in the opposite direction, and
I
they
think I
called it a
remember.
penalty. You remember that moment?
Yeah.
It's etched in my brain, and since then I said these guys are going to call it a penalty for anything, especially in Serie A. So whether it's a dive, whether it's intentional, not intentional, there's no real line you could draw with the rules that there is right now. So if it's a foul, it's a foul. You call it, it's a penalty, and that's my outlook on everything. Since that day, it's like, okay, they're gonna, whether they go my way or not, it's a penalty. I don't like the arguments. We spoke about that 2 weeks ago. I hate the Twitter arguments and whatnot. Everyone fights.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's for me, I agree. It's getting, let's say, the game's getting a bit softer. Every little contact is getting called. It's the downside of VAR. I like VAR. I think VAR is very important. I don't want to get rid of VAR at all because even the offsides, I'm someone who's very pro. If your shoulder blade is offside, you're offside because I don't want to give the referee more of a say. I want it to be black and white offsides. Because then, well, who's to say? Yeah, he doesn't have an advantage because it's his kneecap. It doesn't matter. I don't want to. Once you start adding gray area to these calls, it gets worse. That's
Yeah.
why I am in favor of this call because it's contact. It's in the box. It would be a foul anywhere else. It's a foul. Once you start saying, yeah, but it's in the box, there should be a foul that maybe holds more weight to be a penalty. That's gonna cause even more confusion, even more of an argument. Now, whether
They
it's
have to
soft,
set
yes,
clear guidelines.
exactly, yes, but it's never gonna happen. These refs,
Never gonna
especially
happen.
this year,
Exactly.
every week there's a ref that gets suspended. Every
And
week.
And it doesn't help that Serie A is different than the Premier League, than the Bundesliga.
Yeah,
That's the issue. Everyone has their own laws, and then you go watch international football, and then UEFA has their own laws, FIFA has their own laws, and so that's I think that's where the controversy is. Although,
you're never
again,
gonna make everyone happy.
no, but I like VAR because there was too much bullshit happening
Oh
before
my
VAR.
god,
To be
people don't
honest,
remember. People don't
it was
remember all the bullshit
horrible
No,
stuff.
before.
I think. Look, yeah, I think VAR is definitely
Soli
a good thing.
Modari.
Yeah, but
I knew you
yeah.
were going to say that. I knew it. Look, VAR. I'm not complaining about VAR. I think right now, and there's a groundswell of dissatisfaction with Gianluca Rocchi. For those who don't know, he's the chief referee designator, and he's sort of the head of the referee association in Serie A. I think they've done a lot of good things. I think the ref cam is very cool. I think the verbal feedback after a VAR check is a good initiative. I just think that there's missing some consistency in the
Yeah.
calls from game to game, from week to week. And we hadn't planned to talk about Bologna Parma because it's a generally unremarkable game, if for nothing else than the horror show that it was from a refereeing standpoint.
I
Right?
was going to mention it for another reason, but we'll talk about that later. But
I
yeah.
didn't watch this game. I apologize, but yeah, go ahead.
So
But
we could. I don't know what did you want to bring up, Mike?
All I wanted to do is a special mention for that derby, as it was a horror show from the referee, but it was so exciting. It was one of the best second halves I watched in a really long time of football. That's all I wanted to say. It was I wanted to do a special shout out to that game because I was on the edge of my seat. It was awesome.
Yeah,
so why
and the
was it a horror
90
show?
Just, I mean, those. So both red cards were Pobega's red card,
It went to VAR too.
but that's
Yeah.
what I don't understand. On the field, he called it as a yellow. It
Mhm.
was a yellow. It was a soft yellow, but it
It
was
was a
yellow.
stomp, I'm assuming. A
Sure,
stomp?
it wasn't even really a stomp. He went through behind. His foot was a little bit high. It wasn't. There was no malicious intent. There was no
I think because
scoring opportunity. There's
it's that thing of stud
Point of
showing, you
contact.
know what I mean? Yeah, point of
Point of
contact. How
contact. Yeah.
sure,
exactly.
but so to change from a yellow to a red,
It has to be a clear and obvious
it
error.
needs to be clear that this should have been a red. I don't get how you can go to VAR and give a red. And the problem is that they went to VAR because, if I'm not mistaken, and someone could correct me, I think if you go to VAR on a card, there's only two options. You can't go to VAR and leave it as is. You could undo the yellow or you can upgrade to a red. Otherwise, you cannot go to VAR.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I listen. I'm stating this as fact. It's something I must have seen on either Instagram or Twitter. But I've heard that more than once. And so as soon as they went to VAR, I'm like, he's gonna botch this. He's gonna fuck this up. There's no need to go to VAR for this. And then, yes, it was an exciting game. It was an exciting finish. We had, I don't know, 28 minutes of VAR wait time throughout the game. Like, that's too
Can't
much.
take away the yellow though. That's I don't know if is that what you said, you to take away the yellow from VAR?
I think you can. I think you can. If you go to VAR, you either need to
No, you can't. You can't take away the yellow, but he could
upgrade it to a red.
to a
Then
red. Yeah, because if
okay,
he made a mistake, right? VAR is there to correct the referee's mistake or maybe something he didn't see. And it has to be clear and obvious that there was a mistake. Like they can look at it for 20 minutes, like you said, and not find something that's clear and obvious, and it stays a yellow. The yellow was given, you cannot take that back.
I just feel like we're not using the VAR. Oh, who went to VAR? And listen, the game finished 5-0, but nobody decided to go to VAR with that first Inter goal. Why no VAR? And in the end, look, they could have gone to VAR, canceled that goal. They could have finished 12-0. I'm not saying Sassuolo has anything to complain about, but that was offside, guys. We saw offside called this week because the guy had a pube past the last defender, and this guy he's fully offside, and we're not even going to VAR.
But
But
wasn't
what
it?
are we doing?
But on the goal or the corner? Were you talking about that he was on offside on the corner?
On the first goal, leading up to where they got the
there was
corner.
offside. Yeah, but it was offside. It's just they can't go because there's a corner. They can't go to VAR. They can't go to VAR. Like it kind of like cancels it
They
out.
can't call it
It's like
back. Yeah.
they can't call it back. Once the call was made to be a corner, it's a corner. You can't go back and say, "Hey, oh, I revoked that corner because it was offside." Basically.
Yeah.
But so then what are we saying? If you would have scored a goal, you could have gone back. But because you give him a corner, you can't go back.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying that the calls are necessarily bad, or that. I think VAR generally is a good thing. I think Serie A has taken steps towards becoming a more modern league. Again, I like the ref cam. I like the refs explaining their decision. There's a lot of positives. The way we use VAR, for me, my humble opinion, it doesn't make any sense.
We're one of the
You
best.
can, you
It's
can't.
weird. I was gonna say
If the
we're
guy
one of
would
the
have scored a
best.
goal, you could go back. But because you give a corner, no, God forbid you take away a corner. What are we doing?
But
And then they
that's
score from the
VAR.
corner. What happens?
But that's VAR as a whole. Like again, you have to understand. It's weird. You have to like look into it and understand how it works before it starts actually making sense in a way. But
Look, anything that you need to do that much mental gymnastics to understand needs to be changed.
It's
It can't
because
you're
they
be
right.
want to
that.
limit. They want to limit the amount that it's used, right? They don't want it
Because I
to
mean,
be
or else
every
they would use
call
it on
as
everything.
being.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
But then they
it's
take
only
25 minutes to
that
review
yes.
VAR for an own goal where Pellegrino was because he went for, I don't get it. He would, that was a beautiful header on goal. That was a real own goal de prima punta. Like, what a header! That was better than McKennie's header. What does Pellegrino's foot have to do with anything? That he was offside.
Hey, like I said before, black and white. I no. Once you start including some nuance into the offside rule, it's gonna cause even more of a shit show.
Yeah.
It's an own goal. Che cazzo da offside?
That's doesn't matter. He's influencing the play.
What does he influence? It's not like you say Pellegrino touched it offside and that caused it to deviate onto Castro's head and in the goal. Pellegrino could have not have existed. The result would have been the same. He could have been in the net. The result would have been the same. Pellegrino had no effect on that on that own goal. For me, then look, I don't know. These are two teams that I don't like. I don't dislike. I nothing them. But like,
I
You
nothing
nothing
them. I
them.
like
uh, I don't know. I feel like in French, for those who don't know, we're in Montreal, in case the accents didn't give it away. In French, the Québécois, they say, ça c'est de l'enculage de mouche. That's what that is. We're like, it's mental masturbation. Like, what are we doing? We're making it so complicated.
Yes, for that it is complicated. For me, the thing that annoys me the most, and then maybe we move on from the VAR discussion.
Please, because
But
I'm getting agitated.
but for me, it's like there's something that's going to VAR. The referees in the VAR room are discussing it for 10 minutes while the referee is just waiting on the field. But show him the replay. Just tell him to go to the screen. Include him in the conversation.
yeah.
Instead
The
of
ref
him
has
waiting there, all the players waiting, speed up the process.
but
And look,
the
at a
ref
certain
has to
point,
decide. The ref has to decide if he wants to go to the screen or not.
I understand, but there's a moment there where he's waiting for the VAR to tell him whether it's worth going to the screen. But
yeah, but if
just
they
include
can't
him
decide
in the
within
decision.
And if they can decide within 10 minutes whether it's worth it or not for this guy to go take a second look, move on. It's because it's not clear enough. Oh, if
I
we're here
agree.
10 minutes,
That I agree. It's taking when calls like that take too long.
it's
I
because
think
you're
yes, either they're reaching
it's
or
not
it's just a
clear, obviously.
but or
Guys,
it's a mismanagement.
the
That's
last thing I
like
wanted the, the last thing I wanted to
go
say
go.
about this, then we could move on because we've been talking about watch Premier League matches and see how long they take on VAR.
Oh,
They're the
it's
worst.
horrible. It's
It's
horrible.
the worst. So we don't have
It's
it bad
horrible.
with
And
VAR.
even them,
Yeah,
every week there's a controversy and this and that, and people
it's bigger
complain. And
but they use it
Oh.
differently. I still think we use it properly. We had the semi-automatic offside that came before
the
them.
first ones
Yeah,
with
that's what I mean.
semi-automatic.
Well, they
Just in
jumped
the
into
Premier
VAR
League, for
late,
that is
right?
worse.
I think there
It's
was
horrible.
in year one in Italy there was still no VAR in the Prem.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's horrible. But that's it. So I don't think we have anything to complain about compared to the
No,
Premier in terms of VAR.
it's a curve, right? When you start including technology and all this, there's going to be curves, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be mishaps. It's fine. It's annoying, but honestly, VAR isn't a good thing in the long run. It'll be a good thing.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
still think right now it's a good thing. Let's move on to the last game that we'll speak about in terms of last week. But I just want to speak about Fiorentina. Heartbreak at the end. Just I think that just sums up Fiorentina's season. Just the goal, 94th minute. They were actually playing decently well. You thought that they came back. They were down 1-0. Their Moise Kean finally scores. Solomon's there as well. Then heartbreak in 94th minute. Did anybody else
Weak.
watch this game? Yeah.
Yes, they were mentally weak.
Yeah, I think
There's nothing else to say. Like I don't know, man. Your defenders are there. You're defending a free kick. It was from, I think, right? Yeah, Unitas. It was the free kick. What are you doing? How do you let that goal in? It makes no sense to me how you're defending a lead like that. A, you give away a free kick in a dangerous area. B, you're not first to that ball, and the header was like he was pretty much like he wasn't that obstructed at all. Like he was pretty much alone, Maripan. Uh, and yes, Fiorentina played good the whole game, but as soon as it was 2-1, it's as if they closed off and they didn't like they put on Piccoli, he made a run, he made that run, he ran the entire field, he was alone. No one supported him.
Yeah.
There
I
was not
think
even a late run. He was what are you doing?
They were scared.
Yeah, but exactly. It's mentally weak. They're weak right now, mentally, and Vanoli's not helping anything. This is a
that's where I
coaching
was going.
mistake.
Yeah, that's where I was going. The big positive is, Keane starting his first game in a little while after, was it an injury? Was it transfer speculation? We don't know. But he looked very good. He looked very hungry. He looked sharp.
Mhm.
Great goal to take it on sort of like that half volley, low driven with power. Keane looked fantastic. Solomon looks like a good purchase.
Harrison.
Har- Vanoli is not a good manager.
I know.
He handled this game poorly from the moment they took the lead. He hasn't been able to turn this defense into even just an acceptable, like a third quartile Serie A defense. And what's worrisome is you can't change manager now. Again,
No,
three,
now that's too late.
three
Is
managers in
it?
the relegation
Is it?
zone were in February. Yeah, listen. I think so. I think it would take intestinal fortitude, the likes of which I'm not sure many people have, to go to your third manager when you're in the relegate. Look, there's what, for 13 games left. You got to
Yeah.
figure new manager's going to take 3-4 games to. I mean, I don't know if it's a good idea to change manager now, but this guy ain't it. I
And
mean,
who do you call? Who do you call if you change manager? Not many managers are available right now. It's not.
That's the issue. I think
you
that's the
pull
issue.
do you pull a Zamparini and bring Pioli back?
No, they're gonna bring back Beppe Iacchini.
Go try to get Davide Nicola.
Yeah,
Well,
poach him from. It looks like his magic is wearing off, anyways.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
I feel bad.
that's what I'm saying. So go get some magic, right? So his magic's wearing off there. You bring it to Fiorentina. He
Yeah,
saves
he's
you.
good at
Like he does
saving
whatever.
teams. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Go get Davide Nicola, and you're good.
but this game was set up for Fiorentina to win. It was against a struggling Torino at
Yeah,
home. Uh,
Yeah,
you go down. You go down early. Early. You go down in the first half. A header from a late run by Cazadei.
yeah. And again,
You know,
because
it was a nice goal, but your
yeah, but
defense fell asleep.
he's alone. There's
Yeah,
10
exactly. Your
yards
defense fell
all
asleep.
around him.
But your defense fell asleep. Komutsu Pongracic, we said it last week. We said the week before. They're terrible. They're not. They're relegation pair. Now you signed Rugani. Okay, when was the last time Rugani played?
Yeah,
like, you need to either play him right away or is he out of shape? Okay, so why'd you sign him? So you need quick fixes. And
he didn't. Yeah, and he didn't react well, and he didn't. It goes back to I was a bit harsh on Palladino in the Champions League game for reacting late and getting it wrong. And I said you can do one or the other, but you can't do both. And again, this week, Vanoli did both.
yeah,
I think horrible defending. They went down. What was it, like at the
26.
20? Yeah, that's it. Before 30 minutes, I think the
Mhm.
team showed character to come back and score 2 goals and take the lead. And then instantly, almost instantly after Keane's goal, Torino with Baroni gets on the front foot. Right, they throw in Simeone and they throw in Anjorin.
Abu Cloud too.
Yeah, they're exactly Abukal a little bit later, and then Vanoli waits a full 15, 20 minutes before making a sub. And in those 15, 20 minutes, the game swings. And then when he does make subs, he puts in Ndur and Fabian. buddy.
Two attacking midfielders.
Yeah. And yet the team is sitting back. But then why are you putting in attacking midfielders if you're clearly sitting back? What are you doing? And then when he does react and puts on he makes a defensive move, putting in Ranieri for Sol, it's too late. This is a full 35 minutes of Torino being on the front foot. I think he just botched. He botched it. He got it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanna put one positive for Fiorentina watching the game. Fagioli.
Mandragora?
No, Mandragora. Okay, he'll always get you your bonuses in Fantacalcio. But no, I want to say Fagioli. I'm not a huge Fagioli fan. Nicky Beans, but the beginning of the season he was getting criticized a lot from Fiorentina fans because his passes were horizontal, short, never progressing the play. And in the last two games, his passing range has increased greatly. He's making some, I'm not gonna say Pirlo-esque, but he's playing like a real regista, where he's making these long balls to the wings, opening up the play properly. He's looking better every game now. The struggle is always, like we've been saying, there's no balance, and he's not getting covered because he's not a defensive midfielder, and they need a defensive midfielder. And Mandragora is playing a more attacking role. Brescianini's an attacking midfielder. Fabian's an attacking midfielder. Endur is an attacking midfielder. So defensively, Fagioli is not great, but his passing has been a lot better. That's my call out this week.
There was a beautiful pass he made. I think it was before the first goal, where it was just he was at the top of the box and he just sort of like scooped it to Brescianini, I think. I don't know if you guys, but I mean, if you go back and watch the highlights, I think it was on 0-0, probably around like the 30th minute. Just a beautiful scooped through ball to Brescianini. He's looking better and better. Goodmanson is another guy who's starting to pick up. Couple of good
but they
chances.
scored when he came off.
Now with the injury as well, so I don't know. If it's a serious injury, if he's going to miss any time. But
it might benefit them to play with two wingers with Keane in the middle.
Basically,
two real wingers.
Goodmanson was playing as a winger all season. They kept on winger striker.
He's not really a winger, right?
I know, that's why.
Attacking. He's more of a center forward, play second striker.
Yeah.
It's
Solomon
something.
has been good though. Coming in,
Solomon's been good, and Harrison looked good too this game. Yeah. He got that assist on the Keane goal. He looks like he could do the job. I still think they stay up. Looking at the teams around them and how they're struggling, they're gonna stay up, but it's gonna be a bad season for the fans.
Yeah,
Harrison, former MLS player, he came up in the American system, which is crazy. Even though he wasn't born here, he played soccer here and came up in the American system. It's good to see him, and I think he went to Leeds as well before that. Anyways,
yeah, I think he was with Leeds.
Fiorentina play Como next week. Hard game Saturday.
There's a big game too.
Yeah, big game there. Then there's another big game Saturday. Well, there's a few. There's next week's. It's looking like a great weekend of Serie A football. So Lazio Atalanta. We have Juve Inter, which is a very, very big game for both. I'm not as worried, although I feel Inter need to win this game again. They can't. After the last game's disappointment, where I felt like we should have won also, we just had a mental lapse. Right now, going into this game, I feel fully confident that Inter will win based off of current form. Juve will make it hard. Juve have Spalletti. They're playing well, but the way Inter are playing right now, I guess that's when it could get scary sometimes, when you're playing too good sometimes. If you're not, a game like this comes along and it can catch you by surprise, especially a good coach like Spalletti and him knowing Inter well. I think it's going to be a great offensive game, though, personally, and I think it's going to be a great two teams right now in pretty decent form. Well, Inter's in amazing form, and Juve, they've been in good form offensively as well.
Yeah, a bunch of great matchups next weekend. You also have Napoli-Roma. You have some relegation battles, Cremonese Genoa, Parma Verona, Cagliari Lecce, a bunch of teams facing off that are close together in the standings. So
Napoli
make
Roma is
sure.
definitely one
Yeah.
to watch. But Inter, I mean, this is the real test for them, right?
It
They've
is.
been dismantling smaller teams. This is going to be the first big test in a couple of games now, where they really have to see, and that's the trap, like you said. They might be overconfident going into this match, and Juventus is with Spalletti, they're very well organized, and I'm sure he's going to have something up his sleeve to try and stop this Inter team.
Inter's at home, if I remember, because
Yeah.
the other fixture was away. So again, hopefully we'll get something. We've got some Juve Inter games recently have been very, very exciting. So let's hope it continues to be exciting. That's what I'm looking for. But Napoli Roma, I think, has bigger implications, right? Roma that's a big game for Roma, and a big game for Napoli, because you don't want to lose points to a direct rival who they can get a lot closer to them in the standings. But I think it's a bigger game for Roma to step up, because they need these wins right now, personally, versus the big teams as well, and they have to show that they could take it to Napoli offensively. Who's home there?
Napoli.
It's in
But it
in
doesn't matter. They're
Naples.
both. They have. There's no away fans allowed in either fixture for this.
Yeah. So it's just a question of home cooking. Roma can go level with them on points with a win, and take joint possession of third. So yeah, very very big game. This might be, and you hesitate to say it because there's still a lot of calcio left to be played, but this could be Champions League on the line this weekend. So
It could, because Roma have Cremonese next, right? Napoli have Atalanta. So Napoli have two tough games back to back. So this would be a big win for Roma. You win versus Napoli. Napoli plays Atalanta next week, and Roma's playing Cremonese, right? So
And Napoli has a big midweek game too. That with the depleted squad.
Correct.
Yeah.
And like I said, the next run of games for Roma are looking a little bit easier. They have Verona,
after Cremonese,
Genoa.
after Cremonese, it's Juve, and then it's Genoa, then Como, then Lecce, then Inter. So basically, Roma's got on-off for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because they've got a tough match with Napoli, easy with Cremonese, tough with Juve, easy with Genoa, tough with Como, easy with Lecce, tough with Inter. So it's up and down. It's up and down for the rest of the season. Whereas if you look at Napoli, I believe, let's take a look here. If you look at Napoli fixtures, they've got they're playing tomorrow in the Coppa, and then they've got Roma, Atalanta, Verona, Torino, Lecce. So Napoli with the easier schedule, I would say, from here to the end. Yes, they have Atalanta, but then it's Verona, Torino, Lecce, and Cagliari.
Yeah.
Roma still has Juve and Inter to play.
Yeah.
And Como. So advantage Napoli. This is pretty much, like I said, you don't want to say must win with 8-9 games to go, but as close to it as you're gonna get.
Milan, we didn't talk much about them because they're playing in the 18th, so basically next Wednesday, not tomorrow, the next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Versus Como, and then they have Pisa this
on Friday. Yeah.
That's another rematch of Risultatisti versus Giochisti.
Yeah.
Right. Pragmatism versus tiki-taka. We'll see. I look forward to hearing Allegri
You're
and
talking about Milan
Fabregas.
Como? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gonna
rehash
be
out.
an interesting game.
Yeah.
But no, I think the rest is gonna do Milan good. Como plays tomorrow. They play midweek versus Napoli, and then they play. They have a big game on the
Saturday,
weekend.
yeah.
They're playing Milan. Yeah. So
I'd be curious to see what lineup Como puts out tomorrow.
they have some depth. It's not like they don't have depth.
I think they go full force tomorrow.
For
Maybe,
Coppa Italia,
yeah,
yeah,
but
they
something
could
more
get some
realistic for them
silverware.
to win.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. More realistic,
but
something that they would.
they're still in the hunt for Champions League spot. I mean, I don't think they're gonna make the Champions League, but you're right there. You're very close.
Yeah, especially with
What's
the
a,
with
So
the with the schedule that Roma has coming up.
what's a bigger gamble for them? Like, is I think Coppa Italia, I guess, would be the bigger gamble, right? Like, who
yeah,
they play?
I think they have the better odds of winning the Coppa Italia, but I think financially they need. I think that
Europe.
Champions League would really help. Yeah, Europe, ideally Champions League.
Well, yeah,
Um, Otherwise,
Who
FFP
do
is
they
gonna
play
come
if they
calling.
win? Is it Inter? I think
I
so,
believe
right?
it is Inter. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm.
then you have to play final.
Mm.
Eh,
Mm.
eh, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, like you said, going for Europe is the way to go. But
Hey,
let's move on.
if Bologna could do it last year, why not Como?
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
exactly.
But let's move on. After this discussion, we wanted to discuss the report cards for transfer market. Remo he said he has a few up his sleeve that he wanted to talk about the smaller teams. So I'll let him have that. But let's start with the winners. Let's start with the winners of the transfer market. To me personally, um, number one, and I'm sure you guys will probably agree with me. It has to be Roma. Is the bigger winner from Italian teams in the transfer market. Basically, who they brought in. Um, Again, I think Malin was the biggest signing technically, and the most impactful signing I think that we have seen so far. And look, he proved it today also. But they made some good pickups in positions where they needed it as well. Joe, I'm gonna head it to you first. Do you agree with me to put them at top spot?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, for the quality of player that they brought in, I think they did well. I mean, um, not only Malin, who's a I believe a loan with an obligation to
That's
buy.
a loan. It's a loan. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got a first glimpse of Zaragoza
Yep.
today as well, who looked good.
Another loan.
Um, Yeah, I think again with option this time instead of obligation to buy. Um, but I think Vaz, Malin, Zaragoza are pretty solid pickups for a January mercato.
Yeah.
Those are great purchases. Zaragoza, oddly enough, reminds me a lot of Salamakers in the limited time that we've seen him. Small guy, very technical, always looking to dribble. Malin, you give him that stupid haircut with the semicircle, and he looks like a phenomenal out there. And Vaz is, more of probably a future thing. But yeah, I think Roma did very well. The biggest bit of business that they did that went kind of under the radar were probably the outgoing transfers, cashing in, you know, I think it was something like 17 or 18 million for Tammy Abraham and getting rid of Leon Bailey. Great bits of business by
Yeah.
Masada, getting that dead weight off the books and out of the club in order to bring in, more long-term useful players. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that um, Roma had a great winter market.
Rem, do you think they're number one? Do you have another team that you would like to put up there?
I don't know if they're number one. They definitely had a good market. Malin's like that classic good winter signing. So far, what we've seen, he's been very impactful. Zaragoza looks good. I won't lie. Rubinho Vaz, De Zerbi had said that I'd listened to a podcast with De Zerbi, and he basically said the kid has all the tools at his disposal to be successful. They tried, but he wanted something else. So it seems like a good bit of business for Roma if he could be motivated. I personally love the Venturino signing. I know it was an exchange of loans between him and Baldanzi. I think Baldanzi went to Genoa.
Yeah,
Very good signing for Genoa once he's healthy, and it's good for Baldanzi because he needs to play. But Venturino is a very good signing for the future for Gasperini. He would look good last year when he made a couple games with Genoa. I think he scored a brace in one game. at the end of the season.
Yeah.
He looks very promising. For me, the team I would put ahead of Roma, and it's not a secret pick or like one of my hipster picks. Uh, it would be Atalanta.
Okay, I had them a
I
second.
think, yeah, I think they did better personally. They got rid of dead weight. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, they got rid of Brescianini. They got rid of
Lookman.
Maldini. Lookman, I won't say they got rid of him. They did a good bit of business. They sold him.
It
They
was
sold him for a
technically
good
dead weight,
amount.
though. The guy wanted out for 2
Yes, he
seasons. He
wanted
wants out.
out.
You know what I mean? He's
No,
pulling out the
it's a
team.
shame. It's a shame they didn't do it over the summer. They maybe could have gotten a bit more from him in the summer, but they got a good amount. I would. How much was it? Like,
I think like
35 mil.
35. Yeah.
35 mil.
yeah, they probably could have gotten like 40 this summer. But you know what? They put their foot down over the summer. Now they replaced them with Raspadori, who has looked good, who I think is probably more at ease in Serie A. And it's pretty cool to see that Sassuolo duo of Scamacca Raspadori back again.
Mm.
I find it's very interesting. But I think Raspadori is going to help them a lot more than unmotivated Lookman and a Maldini that maybe was a bit out of his depth. Um, and I think getting rid of that dead weight in midfield, like Brescianini, who had a couple good games last season with them, but then this season doesn't really look like the same type of player. I think it's gonna help them in the long run if they want to add someone in this summer.
Was that a loan?
Uh,
Brescianini to Fiorentina?
it's a loan, yeah, but I think it's a loan with an option, and I think it's a pretty
Okay.
low priced option, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't see a number, but I believe it is a loan. I think it's like a 1 million loan fee, and then I believe there might be an option tied to or a obligation tied to survival.
could
But I
be,
might,
yeah.
yeah,
Imagine deals like that with Fiorentina.
yeah,
But no, I mean, Atalanta is a bit spoiled for choice. If their team is healthy, they could always move Scalvini up to the midfield. He's at ease in the midfield too. So I think they did the right moves for themselves. They keep finding talents like Bernasconi. They're gonna cash in on Palestra this summer. So I think getting rid of dead weight now is good. But I think Raspadori is probably, yes, Malin probably the most impactful, but I think discovering a need for your team and filling that need, Raspadori is more of a calculated transfer.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think
Because
I think it helped a
Roma
lot.
needed, yeah, Roma needed a left attacking midfielder and they didn't. Whereas Atalanta needed a left attacking midfielder and they got their exact guy.
Yeah, but sometimes when your guy's not available, it's not the place and time to do it in the January
Yeah,
transfer
no,
like
for
you did,
sure. I'm
right?
just saying Atalanta,
well,
they pinpointed that one guy.
Malin can play there. I think the gamble with Malin, the advantage with Malin is that he can play pretty much across that tridente up top. He can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play as a punta. Right now, Dobbik and Ferguson are injured, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Malin playing behind Vaz at some point, maybe this year or next year. Where I will, and I think Atalanta did have a great mercato. I will freely admit, I think Roma brought in the more interesting players. They made the bigger splash. Atalanta had a good mercato and pocketed 15 million.
Yeah.
Roma went out and spent, right? So when you look bang for your buck, I think comparatively, Atalanta's a very good shout for having done great business. Maybe less exciting transfers, but great business.
Great business, but
Fair.
I think at the end of the day, the business has to be on the pitch, and right now,
Yeah.
Roma signings are showing it on the pitch, right? That's what's important. At number 3, I had Lazio. We spoke a lot about them, not having a transfer window in the summer. They had an embargo and whatnot, but they brought in Taylor, Radkov. They brought in Maldini on the loan. We spoke about a little bit about Maldini, but they needed. Well, their team was old. Lazio. They brought in some young players. Let's see how they play. Already this weekend, they showed like Kenneth Taylor looked pretty awesome. We didn't see Ratkov yet, right? Did he jump in at the end? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think came in
Yeah.
in the
He
second
came in
half.
Couple of
Came
minutes.
in.
second
Yeah.
half, a couple of minutes or something. Okay, not
Mhm.
enough for me to see, to be honest. But again, we don't know. Maybe Daniel Maldini is going to have a rejuvenation at Lazio. Maybe we'll find some playing time. I don't know, but I think they rejuvenated a little bit of their midfield. With some of those older players, like you're starting Pedro, Luis Alberto was still there at a point. Like,
Pedro's still there.
yeah, Pedro's
He
still there.
scored.
He scored. I know he scored. He scored. We
Two and
talked to him.
two.
He scored 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
But just to say, I think they needed to bring in some young blood, and they did. Again, it wasn't a huge transfer market altogether for Serie A, and I think that's why I have Lazio third, because I'll tell you why after for the losers, but that's why I have third. You guys have anybody else? Maybe we have a Remo hipster pick now. Do we have a hipster pick from Remo?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll give you a
Let's
hipster
go.
pick.
There you go. I like it.
Uh,
We need those.
hang on, hang on. I have a couple here. So we're gonna start with Pisa.
Some good business, yes.
He's gonna
Yes.
tell me about Durosimi.
Well, Durasimi, yes. Durasimi was a solid signing. Now, whether he's gonna find his feet in Serie A, that's to be seen. But Pisa went out and spent a lot of money, considering the team that they
There's
are and where they
yeah.
are in the table. Not only Durasimi, they picked up Loyola. He looks good. They picked up Ealing Jr.,
Young
who
Junior
Yeah.
I like a lot, yeah.
we'll see. These are scommesse, right? They're little bets that they take. Even Durasimi is a bet. Yes, he was good with he was with Victoria Pleasant,
Mm.
but now it's a bet. Does he come here in Serie A and does he have the same impact? We'll see. But for a team to take that chance, it takes balls, it takes good scouting. Um, and there's also a defender they signed, Bozhinov. He looked
Bozanov,
good
yeah.
too this week. Yeah, he looked good too this week. So I mean, I appreciate a team like Pisa going out and doing these type of moves because it shows a bit of ambition, and it's not the classic moves that maybe a team fighting for relegation does, a la Parma that they did this year,
Yeah.
where you sign some guys that have been in Serie A for a while and like you try your luck with that. But they went out and they got some good, interesting players. They're taking risks with players that in the long run, even if let's say they get relegated this year, these players they might stay with them in Serie B and bring them back right back up to Serie
I
A.
think that's the goal in this, right? Is
Yeah,
to create a team, and if they do drop down, is to come right back next year.
yeah.
I
My
think
second
Lecce
hipster
also
pick.
is an interesting one. I don't know if that's where you were going.
No, 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 no. My second hipster pick is Cremonese for a one signing that I think is going to make a huge difference for them. Actually, two
Yeah, well,
signings.
he
Okay,
scored already.
with Thorsby.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thorsby's one of my. He's the same type of player as let's say McKennie. He's that midfielder that looks like he's a defensive midfielder, but he's great at getting inside the box and scoring. And I think he wasn't De Rossi's cup of tea. De Rossi likes more of those technical players, Malinowski, Messias too off the bench, Vitinha. So Thorsby was getting a bit pushed out, even though when De Rossi came in, he looked like he was going through a good period at first. I think with Cremonese, we saw this weekend really, he already scored. He's going to get a good shout. He's going to be an important player and he's going to be a reference point for them. And the second one, the Davide Nicola special, Milan Juric.
Yeah.
Milan Juric is the relegation Davide Nicola special. But you know what? I criticized other teams for taking players that have that Serie A experience of fighting for relegation. But I appreciate that Cremonese went and got a player for their coach because this is Davide Nicola that said, I want Milan Juric. I think he's going to play well with my system. He's going to help us, maybe starting games, maybe coming off the bench, giving Vardy a breather. I think
Like
it was a
Conte and
good
Lukaku.
signing. Exactly. Exactly. So for me, those are my two hipster picks, Pisa and Cremonese. I'm hoping at least one of them save themselves. I'm a big Davide Nicola fan, so I'm hoping it's him. But I'd be sad for Pisa to go down as well. I always appreciate teams that come up from Serie B and play play interesting football, play attacking football like Pisa has tried to do. and play with heart on, like they leave everything on the field, which is what all David and Nicola teams do. So so I'm hoping these teams put up a fight to the end.
You have to be give credit to Gilardino also. There, he has been
Ah,
playing.
yeah. Um, yeah.
And
I
even the
mean,
games they lost, they're not.
he got fired, Giardino.
Oh, he
Yeah,
got
he's
fired.
gonzo.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's Hideo
when
Mark
came
now. I
from the
think
Fred.
Hideo Mark. He got
Hillemark
fired
or
last
something.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got fired
Last week.
last week.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I
So,
think.
but
Yeah,
you know what? They were playing good. They were playing good football. It's just they weren't
They were
getting the
playing good.
results,
They
and I
were,
think
yeah.
they needed a change. When a team starts sliding down the standings, you need a little shakeup. Unfortunate for Gilardino, but I think it was a necessary move for Pisa.
Joe, do you have a loser in mind in your head? Transfer market.
honestly, I don't know if I would say a loser. I mean, there's a bunch of teams who didn't go out and get what they were clearly looking for. I think, Milan and Juve are two teams who I expected to see more from in the transfer market. Milan bringing in Fulkrug, fine. But again, that's a dry loan, 30 plus year old. Looks like his role is going to be coming off the bench. But then again, they're in second place. There's no glaring holes on the team. They
Ah,
picked up Cisse. Well, listen, if you're in
there's
second
glaring
place,
holes in the defense.
I would say that they're
No,
not
I know.
glaring. There might be holes, but they're
Yeah,
not glaring holes. Cisse is an interesting call. I would
yeah.
have
I
expected
appreciate that
them.
signing.
Yeah, I would have expected them to maybe go out and try and bridge the gap to Inter. Juve obviously can be a little disappointed to not have brought in the punta that they were looking for. I think, and I don't want to pick on them. We spoke about Lazio. I know you had them as a decent mercato. I see a team that's
Considering,
struggling.
yeah,
I see a team that's struggling, that has no identity, that has a manager who is there for nothing but love of the club, who's being contested by its fans, and they go out and put 25 million euros in their pocket. They get rid of, you know, important players, not only for their present, but, Gonzalez, Mandas, these were two decent. Mandas is a very promising keeper who they sent to Bournemouth. I don't. I don't. To me, it just doesn't sit right when a club who's underperforming cashes in January. I don't. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it reeks of lack of ambition, and I think the fans are right to protest Lotito as they are. Um, that's not to say that Taylor, Radkov, Maldini are not good purchases. There was a moment in the Lazio Juve game where Lazio was taking off on the counter and Maldini was spearheading it with, I'm assuming it was Isaacson to his left, Pedro to his right, and he looked comfortable leading the line, which I was surprised to see. This is not usually a punta, right? But he looked very comfortable dishing the ball off to his left to Isaacson. I'm not saying that they're bad purchases. I just think that for the season that Lazio is having, cashing in on cornerstone players in their prime, right? Guendouzi, 26, Castellanos, 27. These are not old players, right?
When
These
Zuzi's
are,
26. Wow.
yeah, he's been around forever, but I mean, these are prime aged players that
Hmm.
you're shipping off mid-season when you're already underperforming. I don't like that decision as an organization to go out
For me,
and
I have
pad
Lazio right in the
the
middle. I have
pocketbook.
Lazio in the middle. Since you guys will do the Goldilocks thing. Zach has them, Mike has them at the top three. You have them at the bottom three. For
yeah.
me, they're solidly in the middle, right? I agree with you, Joe, that they making profit on a struggling team in a January transfer market is kind of like okay, we give up. where this
And
season's a wash.
you didn't
That's
spend
it.
any money all summer. Don't tell me
Yeah,
But
the
they
checkbook is
couldn't. They couldn't.
empty.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
that I
couldn't.
get. They should
I
have.
understand, but that money should still be sitting there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I
but for
agree.
summer, like not January, right? So that's how I
I
see
no,
it.
but
agree, but
And
I think they made some good signings. I think Maldini has promise still. People don't like him because he's a nepo baby, but he's skillful. I think with Sari, maybe he could unlock something playing as that center forward a la Mertens. Not that he's anywhere near Mertens' level of skill.
uh,
No, I'm not saying that, but he's a skillful player that maybe is lacking a bit of. I think Maldini is always lacking a bit of strength on the ball, and you saw it again this weekend when he played Lazio. There was a lot of chances where he had the ball and he maybe did a step over too much, and he got pushed off the ball a bit too easily. But
he
it's a
has no
promising
dog. He
signing.
has no dog in him.
Yeah, Radkov is a risky signing that if he pans out, they look like geniuses. If he doesn't, it's like okay, ship him back to Austria. And Taylor for me is a great signing.
yeah, it's
Replacing
great signing.
Guendouzi with Taylor, great signing. The
Yeah,
other two,
one butcher for another.
no, but Taylor looks like he's a bit more skillful, a bit more. I don't know. I think that's a good signing. I think the other two are decent risks, but I do agree with you that to sell, let's say, three um, pillars of your team, really, like
And
Guendouzi and
two top
Castellanos,
prospects.
extremely, but
Yeah.
Vecino was an important player in
Yeah.
your locker room for sure because that's an experienced player that you're getting rid of, and you're signing two risks and one promising midfielder in Taylor. It kind of sends a signal to your coach, your fans, and basically the entire public and the league that you're not competing for anything this season.
There has to be a
Yeah,
sale
and
coming. The only way I'll go back and revise my disappointment in their mercato is if they sell over the summer. That's the only context to me in which this mercato makes any sense, is taking wages off the books, loans, so that a future owner could come in, look at the club's valuation, see potentially positive cash flow, and make you a better offer for the club without having brought in any players that are tied long term to the club. If Lotito turns
Maybe
around and sells, then I can see this as a strategy. If not, then I think it's a criminal mercato.
Maybe,
yeah,
Roberto Mancini with his money from the Arab Emirates comes in and
From
buys
there,
him out.
it's maybe. Pull
but to
Pellissier,
me,
right? Isn't it Pellissier who went and buy
Chievo and
Chievo? Yeah,
yeah,
Verratti bought a huge share in Pescara too.
yeah, yeah.
I think the way I looked at it and judged it was, did they get better? I think so, based off of the way they were playing. Or again, it's easy to say did they get better? Yes, because they didn't have a summer transfer window, right? So that's the way I looked at it. But I think you're absolutely right, Joel, that we have to wait till the summer and see what happens. Maybe they splurge, maybe they sell, who knows?
Mhm.
But the only thing I want to touch upon when what Joe said from the losers was that Milan and Juve, I had them as Juve, losers as well. From this,
Oh
again,
wow,
we use the term losers, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because they were linked with everybody and they got no one, right? So it's either a bad business or bad press. I don't know what it is, but to me, the way I see it, Fulkrug, I don't think is gonna. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Rim. I don't know how much he's gonna do or what he brings to this team. Um, but other than that, like I said, they were linked to a multitude of players. So were Juventus, didn't replace. And again, to me, that's a fail on two sides where two teams that are struggling. Not struggling in the league, but you have the opportunity to go and fight for a Serie A title, where maybe next year it's going to be a little bit more difficult in Milan. You're playing one game a week. Maybe go get some extra players to make you a little bit better. That's the way I see it. And
that's
Fiorentina too. I had them.
oh you had
As
Fiorentina as a loser.
Yeah, I don't think. Again, they brought in, who did they bring in? Rugani,
Solomon,
Brescianini,
Yeah, but
Solomon,
more
Solomon.
attacking midfielders, more of the same.
Exactly. Like
Fabian,
That's the
he
problem with
wasn't.
Fabian.
them.
That's
Yeah,
that's
but
that's what I was gonna
exactly.
say. It wasn't smart. It wasn't smart business. We talked a lot about the defenders not being great. They just went and, as I said, they threw money at people and said, let's try to save the season by going and score more goals, when maybe they
Yeah.
had to look at their team as a whole and take a step back and maybe look at the defense or make smarter purchases. We praised Marotta at the beginning of the episode and said he does smart business. He builds teams. That's what I think that's what a lot of these, um, well, Fiorentina specifically, they're not building a team. They're not playing as a team. They don't have a coach that plays the system. So that's your number one issue. And that's why I have them as a loser also.
Okay, let me touch on Milan first and Juve quickly, and then I'll give my two losers that I think are maybe you guys overlooked them, but I think they're massive losers. Okay, so for Milan, I don't agree. I do agree that their market wasn't up to scratch. I think they were targeting the wrong positions. They got Fulkrug and then they went down to the wire with Mateta. They really wanted him. They did a medical. They did an extra medical because his knees are basically finished.
Yeah.
And then in the end, they didn't get him, and they didn't get anyone else. Now you have 35 million that you were going to spend on Mateta. You have it in the bank for summer. Okay, fine. But they didn't answer. You already got Fulkrug. Fulkrug, I think, decent signing. He's going to be helpful to the team off the bench. It's a low risk but high impact signing. He already scored. I think he's a good signing. But you didn't answer the issue of your defense, of the lack of bodies on your defensive line. Thiago Silva was there for the taking, and you passed on him, and you didn't get anyone else. And that right wing back position of Salamakers, you didn't get a good backup. I think Kame is not up to scratch. But my biggest issue really is that when you look at teams, let's say like Roma signed Bailey in the summer, didn't pan out, they got rid of him. Milan didn't do the same thing with Estupinian. And I think it's a bit of it's slow to act, you know what I mean? Like he's gone this summer because you can't have a guy on that high of a wage and he's getting benched week in, week out, and deservedly so, because even last week he played horribly. When he came on in the second half, you can't have a guy on that wage playing that badly and being benched by a Primavera player who's playing great. But still, you brought in Estupinian. He was one of your big signings for the summer, and he looks horrible. You need to make a change. You need to get rid of him, bring someone else in to back up Bartesaghi, maybe someone with a bit more experience. Now, that inaction and maybe that lack of direction for their transfer market, I don't think it puts them as one of the two worst. Juve, I think their biggest signing was Spalletti. So for them, they get a pass. He's doing well with the team. It's hard to change anything when they're doing well. Apparently, they wanted Colomwani again. They couldn't get him again. And so they kept moving on.
They tried to be striker.
Yeah. But for me, the two negatives, and I'll start with one that's a bit...
Hold on, before you
go.
But they signed Magnan, no?
Milan?
They did
that's
renew
a big...
Magnan,
Yeah, although, you know what?
I just want to say, I don't know.
Go.
I like that. No, I like
you
it.
like
I like
that?
it. He might still leave. I think they did it
to sell him for a fee.
Exactly. I think that's a possibility. It's a win-win at the end of the day. He stays. You have him signed until 2031. If he wants to leave and other teams want him, maybe you can make some money on him. Although that I find it's hard to have a good, trusty goalkeeper nowadays. So I would keep him but sometimes players want to leave. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to say an unpopular opinion among Milan fans. I wouldn't mind selling Magnan, making profit, signing Caprile, and then bettering the team in other positions. But that's football manager talk.
Yeah,
but also not.
Magnan is also the reason for
he's amazing.
Points this year, right? Like at the end,
he's
of the
amazing.
Day, so.
I'll never deny that he's the best goalie in the league. He's probably top 3 in the world. But then again, if you could sell him for a profit, he's a goalie. He's close to He's getting up there in age. He's I
And
think
there's an
you could.
there's an argument to be made for the fact that a Massimiliano Allegri managed team doesn't need one of the best goalies in the world.
No, well, I mean, they
needed him
did this year.
They
Yes,
needed
but
him
that's
this
because
year.
their defense. That's because they need better defenders. But
Yeah.
that's another story. Okay, my worst two.
Yes.
My two flops of the calcio mercato. The first
There's
one
so
is
much build
obvious.
up.
The first one is
We should build it up even more. Let's go back to it.
the first one
The
is
suspense.
obvious. It's every year I find they're a flop in the winter mercado, and then they prove me wrong. But I think this is finally the year that I will be proven right, and it's Verona. They got rid of the only player that was, well, not the only player, one of the two players that was doing anything on their team, Giovanni, and they didn't really sign anyone else. I mean, they signed Lovric in the midfield on loan from Udinese. Okay, nothing great. Edmondson looks
They have the gift that
interesting.
keeps on giving. Gift Orban.
I know, but you're relying on him.
uh,
They're last place, aren't they?
Verona, are they last place?
I believe that they're either last. I mean, they're definitely way down there. I think they are after.
Yeah,
I think they're
last place,
tied for last.
They're tied with Pisa.
Probably.
They're
Yeah,
tied
there you
with
go.
But you look at Pisa's market and you look at Verona's market, and one is ambitious and one is not. And
And they might
every
slow.
year I say this. Yeah, I know. Every year I say this. I'm gonna probably eat my words at the end of the year. But Verona has to go down. It's their team is not a Serie A team. Personally, I don't believe they should be in Serie A. Gift Orban, he's gonna go for 15, 20 million probably at the end of the season. But apart from that, no one else on that team is worth more than 5 million. So I think they didn't make the right moves. Now, my big one that I'm sure you'll both agree with is Bologna.
Yeah.
They're struggling. They're not having a great season. They made some bad signings, let's say, in the summer. And by bad signings, I mean Immobile and maybe Bernardeschi, who's a bit past it. But
A
at least
little bit.
Bernardeschi played a couple games and looks half decent.
They got the Montreal
But
Impact treatment with Joey.
yeah, pretty much. They did a trade of loans between Holm, who apparently maybe slept with some of the players' wives. I don't know if you guys heard that rumor.
No,
I
I
don't know if you
didn't.
guys heard that rumor. Yeah, apparently that's why he left. And they got João Mario in return. And they got rid of Fabian for Somme.
Yeah.
Now, you could get rid of Fabian. You could sell Fabian. I understand maybe he needs playing time, this and that. But make make your team better in the you know what I mean? Like, you signed Somme, who looks like a Serie B player this season with Fiorentina. Now, that's not saying much because Fiorentina, but
Or a Serie B team.
yeah, but I don't feel like you're getting one for one over there. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
Some for Fabian doesn't seem like a fair move at all, and it seems. I find it very uncharacteristic for Bologna because usually their transfers are pinpoint scouted. They signed that guy Helland from Brand. That's another Scandinavian defender.
But overall, it was a tough January transfer market in general. Like there wasn't much out there. Plus, we're talking World Cup year. People are not moving. Like it's always like this. And then we'll see the explosion after World Cup of all the signings and movements. And then you'll have those World Cup players too that shine for a tournament that everyone wants to sign. So that's coming for sure. But I don't find there was a lot out there.
No.
It was a very slow January transfer market. It was a slow summer transfer market as well compared to years past, but just slow transfer market in general.
Yeah, but I mean, Bologna could have gotten Rugani, and maybe we would have been having a different conversation, or another defender, and we could be having a different. Coppola went to Paris FC from Brighton, right? Brighton. He could have came back to Serie A. A team like Bologna could have taken him on loan. They need a solid defender because Vitek and Hegem look a bit shaky, and Lukumi is barely playing anymore.
And he looks
They're
They have
paying
a
horrible
his
when
lot
he
of
salary
does
a
center
play.
lot.
backs, but
Oh my
they have
god,
a
he
lot of
looks
center
bad.
backs, though. That's the
Yeah, but they
problem.
have
A
to
lot
get
of
rid of
center
some.
backs.
That too. They didn't really
Yeah,
shed that weight. They shed Immobile, but that's it. Like they need to shed a bit of the weight. Anyways, they're getting the Montreal Impact CF Montreal treatment from Mr.
Yeah.
Saputo. But for
The
me, they're a big loser at this market because they're struggling and they didn't do anything to fix them, and they're not a relegation style team like Verona. You'd expect them to do better.
yeah. I have to
yeah,
say,
I think on the whole I agree.
I was gonna say, just shout out to Verona. I know you want them down. I know you talk about I love that team, but I just big shout out to end the whole conversation. I love that city. I think it's one of my favorite cities
Oh yeah,
in Italy.
the city
Fantastic
is something
city.
completely different, right? It's
It's a gem that no one really likes to like. You know, when you talk to people, they don't go visit Verona. It's not their number one spot. But every time I talk to someone about Italy or going to Italy, go visit Verona. I fell in love with that city. Magical medieval town, great food,
Mhm.
great culinary city as well. But I don't want to see them go down at the end of the day. But listen, we went. I think we spoke a lot. It was a great conversation. Maybe probably our best one yet. That's it, guys. Any words to round off the week?
Enjoy the games. Make sure you bring your wives out on Friday night so that you can keep your Saturday and your Sunday. Treat the wives early in the weekend so that you can so that you can get some free time on Saturday and Sunday to enjoy the games. Yeah, that's my plan.
big games coming up and exciting week in Serie A.